good morning to you all, and a very warm welcome to the CMA this morning in this wonderful building with this fantastic view out over the river for this event on cybersecurity and emerging technologies. I know that the CMA has been in the news this morning for regulation of the vet industry. If there are any vets here, this probably isn't the event for you. This is the cybersecurity event. It's fantastic, actually, to see a full room today, and I know we've got people with us online as well, with people joining us from across academia, industry, regulators, and civil society for a morning of really quite exciting and timely discussions. My name's Kate Jones. I'm CEO of the Digital Regulation and Cooperation Forum, or DRCF, and it's a real pleasure for me to open this event. Just on housekeeping quickly, there are no fire alarm tests planned, so if we do hear a fire alarm, we will need to follow the fire marshals outside via the staircase. Also, just to note that, as you can see already, this event we have got photographers and it's being recorded for external use afterwards. So, at the DRCF, we bring together 4 of the UK's largest digital regulators, helping to align approaches, anticipate challenges, and respond to fast-moving technological change. We also bring in wider regulators to our work where relevant, and I'm delighted that we've got Ofgem with us involved in a panel today. So why are we here today? Well, cybersecurity has never been more important. Just yesterday, we heard in the press from Richard Horne, the head of the National Cybersecurity Centre, that there were 204 nationally significant cyber incidents in the 12 months to August 2025. And we saw that ministers wrote to business leaders yesterday, including all of the FTSE 350, urging them to take necessary steps to protect their businesses and our wider economy from cyber attacks. Each DRCF regulator, that's Ofcom, the CMA, the ICO, and the Financial Conduct Authority, has an interest in cybersecurity and protecting consumers online. Keeping people safe online and protecting businesses through upholding relevant legislation and improving compliance is critical. This is even more the case as new technologies emerge that may amplify both the threats we face and the means to defend against them. So that's why the DRCF's Horizon Scanning and Emerging Technologies project has devoted itself in recent months to exploring the future of cybersecurity. This work that they've been doing has brought together insights from experts across industry, academia, and government to understand how cybersecurity threats and mitigations may evolve in the years ahead, and the key roles for regulators. Today marks the culmination of the Horizon Scanning team's work, and of course the start of wider conversations on how we build resilience and trust as cybersecurity systems develop. In speaking to thought leaders over recent months, 3 technologies have stood out as particularly likely to shape the future of cybersecurity. One is artificial intelligence, a force multiplier for both defense and attack. The second is the Internet of Things, expanding the attack surface as devices proliferate. And thirdly, quantum computing, promising new breakthroughs, but also profound risks for encryption and security. We in the DRCF are keen to explore these themes early so that regulators can contribute fully both to exploitation of opportunities and to mitigation of risks. And we're looking forward to hearing them discussed in detail by our brilliant keynote and panel speakers this morning. So we do have a fascinating morning lined up. After first hearing about government policy developments, our first panel will look back at cybersecurity developments over the last 5 years. We'll then have an expert talk on the impact of emerging technology on the future of cybersecurity. Then a panel discussion focusing on the role of the human in building resilience. And finally, a panel on how good cybersecurity practices can contribute to economic growth. But this isn't just a listening exercise for all of you in the audience this morning. It's also an opportunity for dialogue. In the DRCF, we feel that dialogue is really important and increasingly important with the pace of technological development. So to that end, on screen you will see a QR code. Please use it in the next few minutes. I know that means everybody will get their phones out, but please use it in the next few minutes to share your own views on which emerging technologies will impact the future of cybersecurity the most. And we'll share results at the close of the morning. So with that, thank you all again for joining us. We're looking forward to a really thought-provoking and engaging morning together. To get us underway, I'm delighted to hand over to Liz Kohorn-Hill, Deputy Director of Cybersecurity and Resilience at the Government's Department for Science, Information Technology, to open the event with a keynote address.
Thanks so much for that introduction, and good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. I am Liz Kohorn-Hill, the Deputy Director for Cybersecurity and Resilience, with a focus on strategy and legislation. Before this, I worked in Number 10 for 3.5 years as an advisor to 4 Prime Ministers, and after that, thought I'd move on to something more stable that I could really grapple with, and cybersecurity, I'm not sure, turned out to be that panacea, but it is incredibly interesting for all of the reasons that Kate set out. What I thought I'd do today is just set out a bit about why cybersecurity is a priority for this government, a bit about what my team is doing and how we want to work with all of you. So first, to say the government is very clear. The growing cyber threat is causing significant harm to UK businesses and citizens, and urgent collective action is needed to safeguard our economy and our national security. Cybersecurity cannot just be the purview of the IT department, but a priority front and centre for all. And there are many reasons for this, but just to choose 3. First, cybersecurity is an essential precondition for growth, a priority mission for the government. Stronger confidence and investment in the UK as a safe place to do business stems from a cyber-resilient economy, infrastructure and institutions. Second, the risks and costs posed by cyber threats to the UK are acute and worsening. Right now, we are seeing a deteriorating threat picture, with GCHQ reporting an increase in the frequency, sophistication and intensity of hostile cyber activity against the UK. And as Kate said, just yesterday, the NCSE published their annual report, which showed more than a doubling in nationally significant cyber incidents this year. And by nationally significant, it means they had a serious impact on central government, essential services or the economy. Yet while cyber actors are using new means to hit us harder and more often, in comparison, our defences have deteriorated. And we recognise that the government has a unique and crucial role to play in addressing those risks, both in setting the laws that govern cybersecurity and in facilitating the uptake of best practice alongside our partners, including regulators. As I said, tackling the risks we face is a shared responsibility between government, businesses, society and other partners. There is a significant drive to take this forward across my department, DSIT, the National Cybersecurity Centre, developing the tools needed to defend that organisations need to defend themselves, the guidance, the standards, as well as supporting the availability of cyber skills in the UK. Cyber Essentials, the Cyber Governance Code of Practice, the NCSE's early warning services, these are readily available tools that have an immediate impact on cyber resilience. All of these form part of the toolkit available to all, to businesses to ensure their resilience, whether that be M&S, Co-op, Jaguar Land Rover, or the next target that cyber criminals choose to attack. These free tools and services are the right approach for the economy at large, but at the hardest edge, cyber attacks could lead to unsafe drinking water, the lights being turned off, or our hospitals unable to operate. Against these risks, it is only right to have more robust protections in place. Protections enshrined in law. This was the impetus behind the Network and Information Systems regulations introduced in 2018 and marking an important turning point in the UK and European cybersecurity. They cover 5 sectors which provide essential services: drinking water, health, energy, transport and digital infrastructure, as well as some digital services. These laws place mandatory duties on those in scope to adhere to certain cybersecurity practices. But of course, since 2018, times have moved on. Technology, business practices, geopolitics and threats have all evolved since these regulations were introduced. And following the UK's departure from the EU, the government no longer has the powers to amend them without primary legislation. This is why the government has committed to introduce the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill, to make the regulations fit to deal with the threats we face in 2025 and remain agile to the threats that we will face in the future. We published our Cybersecurity and Resilience policy statement in April, which set out the government's intent for the bill. That provided more detail on the measures that were announced in the King's speech last year, and I will pull out some of them today. So first, As I've said, the bill does not cover every UK organisation. It is about those services which are so essential their disruption would affect our daily lives, our hospitals, our traffic lights, the internet. Increasingly, cyber criminals are exploiting new routes to attack these services, reflecting the interconnected economy we live in to cause huge disruption and financial losses. By bringing into scope more of those core services relied on by almost all UK organisations, businesses and public services will be more secure and resilient. This includes managed service providers and ensuring supply chains are more resilient. Many companies now outsource certain services to managed service providers who provide ongoing contracted IT support to other businesses like IT help desks. They have unprecedented access to clients' IT systems, making them an attractive target for cyber criminals, hitting them to get to others. That is why medium and large managed service providers will be brought into scope through the bill and will have to adhere to certain cybersecurity duties. This will, by extension, protect businesses and institutions across the UK who use them. For the same reason, we're also considering bringing data centres into scope. Secondly, I mentioned supply chains. A single supplier's cyber vulnerability can severely affect vital public services, and these supply chains and these points of vulnerability are increasingly being exploited by those who intend to do us harm. You may recall last year's cyber attack on London hospitals and GP surgeries. That was done through targeting a supplier of pathology testing services to the NHS and went on to disrupt over 11,000 appointments, and incredibly sadly, one death has now been linked to this attack. Much like the financial services sector's critical third parties regime, through the bill, regulators will be able to designate critical suppliers, ensuring the most important suppliers to essential, managed and digital services are subject to the regulatory regime. The second pillar of the bill is about enabling our cyber regulators to be more effective. There are already incident reporting requirements under this regulatory regime, but these do not provide us with the information required, both in breadth and in speed, to ensure the affected organisations get the support they need and prevent or minimise further attacks. The current regime means that regulators only get informed about cyber incidents if they've caused significant disruption. That may sound like it makes sense, but it doesn't include incidences where there's not yet been a disruption to services, like a hospital being spied on or their systems being accessed by cyber criminals who quietly steal data, waiting to lock the hospital out and demand a payment in return. Reporting of more harmful cyber breaches quickly is essential. That is why we plan for more types of harmful cyber breaches to be reported to regulators and to the National Cybersecurity Centre. Those successful, harmful attacks that aren't causing disruption today, but have the potential to, such as ransomware and pre-positioning. Initial notification will be required rapidly, within 24 hours, and a full report within 72 hours. This will ensure a response that matches the threat that we face, so that incidents can be responded to, and we can, over time, build up a fuller understanding of the cyber threat picture. And to ensure that their clients can protect themselves as well, data centres and digital and managed service providers will need to inform their customers if they have been breached and their customers might be affected. Secondly, NIS regulations apply across multiple sectors and are enforced by 12 regulators. This allows a sector-specific approach, as different organisations are vulnerable to threats in different ways, for example, due to the technology they use. The bill will preserve this expert-led approach while driving more consistency, with a stronger mechanism for government in partnership with regulators to set priority outcomes for them to work to. Through the bill, we aim for the Secretary of State to be able to set the priority outcomes regulators will have a duty to seek to achieve, set in a designated public statement of strategic priorities that regulators will be consulted on. Finally, the third pillar of the bill will ensure that the government has the tools to quickly strengthen our cybersecurity and resilience in response to the ever-changing threat landscape, quantum, AI, all of those things that Kate just mentioned. Following the UK's departure from the EU, as I said before, the government no longer has appropriate powers to amend the NIS regulations without an entirely new bill. And this has contributed to our cybersecurity legislative framework falling behind, unable to quickly respond to new threats or changes in technology. The bill will include powers for the Secretary of State to update the framework in secondary legislation, meaning it can happen more quickly, allowing for a more responsive approach. These changes could include bringing new essential services into scope of minimum cyber requirements, or updating those minimum cybersecurity requirements that those in scope must adhere to. The bill will be introduced as soon as parliamentary time allows. I know that some of you will be hoping for more detail than that I just can't give today. I'm so sorry, I so wish I could. But at that time, we'll also publish the full bill text, the fact sheets, and lots of other products that many of you might have seen, and that will enable you to interrogate our plans further. The bill has been developed working closely with the 12 regulators whose input I hugely value, industry and other experts. And I just want to assure all of you here today that there will continue to be many opportunities to feed into our plans for implementation as we move forward. So please do continue to share your feedback, as it is incredibly valuable. That's what I wanted to say today on the government's priority for cybersecurity, our plans for legislation, and how we plan to proceed in the coming months. Thank you so much for your time.